Hi, everyone. Today, I want to tell you about one of the most stressful and exciting days of my life, my first real job interview. It happened a few months ago, but I still remember every single detail. At that time, I was really focused on finding a part-time job. I wanted to earn some money, get experience, and see what the real world of work actually feels like. So I started looking for something connected to design, because that's what I'm passionate about. I spent a few evenings preparing my resume and writing a short cover letter. It was kind of funny because I had almost no real experience. Still, I tried to make everything look professional, clean, simple, and confident. Then I found this job ad from a local creative agency. They were looking for a junior designer. I felt like it was my chance. So, without overthinking, I sent my application. And 2 days later, they emailed me back. They wanted to meet me for an interview. When I read that email, I froze for a second. I was happy, but also extremely nervous. I started to imagine hundreds of questions they might ask. Tell me about yourself. What are your strengths? Why should we hire you? My brain was like a broken radio, repeating those lines again and again. So, I decided to prepare seriously. I watched YouTube videos about job interviews in English. I practiced my answers in front of a mirror. I even recorded myself speaking, just to see how I sounded. It felt awkward, but it helped a lot. On the morning of the interview, I woke up early. I chose my outfit carefully, something simple but neat. I remember standing in front of the mirror, fixing my hair, and saying to myself, "You got this. Just be calm and be yourself." Then I took the bus to the company office. It was a bright, sunny day, but my hands were cold like ice. I kept checking the time, trying to look confident, even though inside I was shaking. And that's where the real story begins. When I arrived at the company, my heart was beating so fast. The building looked modern. Glass walls, soft lights, and quiet music in the background. I took a deep breath and told the receptionist that I had an interview at 10 a.m. She smiled and said, "Please, take a seat. Someone will come for you soon." I sat down, trying not to look too nervous. There were magazines on the table, but I couldn't focus on a single word. All I could think about was, what if I forget everything I prepared? After a few minutes, a man came out of the office. He looked friendly, around 30, maybe a bit older. "Hi, you must be Daniel. I'm Mark, one of the designers here." I stood up quickly, shook his hand, and smiled back, probably too wide. He led me into a bright room with a few posters on the wall. One of them said, "Design is not just what it looks like, it's how it works." That quote somehow calmed me down. Maybe, I thought, they care about creativity more than perfection. We sat down and the interview began. At first, Mark asked simple things. "Tell me a little about yourself. What kind of design work do you enjoy most?" I felt my voice shake a bit, but after a few answers, I started to relax. Then came some unexpected questions. If you had to design a product for teenagers, what colors would you use and why? That one caught me off guard. I thought for a moment and said, probably bright colors like blue and orange because they feel energetic and fun. He nodded. I felt a small wave of relief. But then he asked something harder. "What's your biggest weakness?" My brain went completely blank. For a few seconds, I just smiled awkwardly. Then I said, "Maybe I focus too much on small details. Sometimes I forget to see the bigger picture." He laughed softly and said, "That's not always a bad thing." 8. We also talked about teamwork, deadlines, and even hobbies. At one point, he asked, "How do you deal with stress?" I answered honestly, "I usually take a short walk or listen to music. It helps me think clearly." He smiled again. I think he liked that answer. When the interview was almost over, Mark said, "Well, Daniel, we'll let you know soon."
You did great. I thanked him and stood up, feeling half alive and half exhausted. He shook my hand again and wished me a nice day. As I walked out of the office, I wasn't sure what to feel. Part of me was proud. I did it. But another part was full of doubt. Did I say enough? Did I sound confident? I didn't know it yet, but that day would teach me something important, something I'd remember for a long time.
The next few days felt like forever. Every time I opened my email, my heart started racing. Nothing. No message, no update. I began to think maybe I didn't do as well as I hoped. On the third day, I finally got an email from the company. My hands were literally shaking when I clicked on it. It started with, "Thank you for your time, Daniel." For a second, I thought, oh no, it's a rejection. But then I saw the next line. "We'd like to invite you to join our team." I couldn't believe it. I read that sentence 3 times to be sure. Then I just laughed out loud. It felt unreal, like all my preparation, my stress, and my nervous smiles actually meant something. The first few weeks at the company were a mix of excitement and confusion. Everything was new. New people, new tools, new projects. Sometimes I made mistakes, of course. But the team was friendly and always ready to help. I realized that everyone once had their first day too. One afternoon, when I stayed late to finish a project, Mark came by and said, "You were really nervous at the interview, but you had the right energy. That's what we saw." That stuck with me. It wasn't about being perfect. It was about being genuine. After a few months, I started to feel more confident, not just as a designer, but as a person. That interview became one of the best lessons of my life. It taught me that fear is normal, but it shouldn't stop you. The best opportunities appear when you push yourself a little further. Now, whenever I face something new or scary, I remember that day. I remember the cold hands, the nervous smile, and the moment I decided to just be myself. Because sometimes that's exactly what people want to see, the real you. And that's how one job interview changed the way I see challenges. It's not just about getting a job. It's about learning, growing, and believing that you can handle more than you think.
Thanks for listening to my story. I hope it inspires you to take your own chances, even if you feel nervous. Because who knows? The next big step in your life might be just one brave moment away.